no, ball 4 was called. And so Joyner walks. And now they threaten with runners at first and second. And Bully's going to have to go to work. Nobody out. He's walked 2 in a row.
Some of the good news for the Cubs today, one of the hottest hitters in Arizona, Mark Newfield, is not in the lineup today as the Padres playing a split squad game. So a few of their starters are not here today. But Osmus is the man who will start behind the plate. He has tremendous speed for a catcher, so unless he hits the ball very hard, it's going to be tough to turn to. But the Cubs' newly revamped infield can probably do it if Bullinger can throw the ground ball.
If Rich Melman could see that Newfield, how far he hits the baseball, probably give 5 of his restaurants to get him.
If we could bring him to the Cubs, I might give a couple restaurants up.
Yeah. Look at that. Boy, and he hits them like Sammy does. A long, long way. Brad Osmus, who went to Dartmouth. Double play ball. Whoa, fumbled. Throw to first. Lost the double save. A be an error on Sandberg. And the bases are loaded with nobody out. Now there's a ball that was hit sharply enough to get to speedy Osmus in a double play, but was not fielded cleanly.
Sandberg bobbles the ball, able to stay with it, but we told you about the great speed of Osmus. A normal catcher would have been out easily at first base. Instead, he beats the play. Wally Bell on the call, and that loads the bases with nobody out. Well, Harry, we predicted a high-scoring affair, and it's shaping up to be just that.
All right, bases loaded, nobody out. The Cubs' 1-0 lead is in jeopardy. Curveball in there for a strike call. Greg Benet is one of these umpires that gives you a delayed call. Orally calls it quickly. The catcher knows what it is, but the fans have to wait for the movement of his arm. Greg Shipley, the pitch outside. Shipley's been around with I don't know how many ball clubs.
Well, he's one of the best players to come out of Australia. The last broadcast, or 2 broadcasts ago, we saw Dave Nielsen. Now we're seeing Craig Shipley. And Harry, with every passing year, we're seeing more players come out of Australia and make the major leagues.
Popped it up, not playable. Rich, have you been in Australia?
Never been there.
They got a lot of cattle over there. That makes a lot of meat. That means a lot of sandwiches, a lot of meat. How come you haven't been over there?
It's a long trip, Harry. I don't like flying that long. Never had any offers, actually, in Australia.
Well, probably somebody will wire you after today.
And you and Steve will definitely get your percentage for setting this up.
Well, I know Steve will, but I mean, bases are loaded. Look out. Wayne Larrabee sitting down the way, almost too far away to hear me. I'm trying to yell. Good time for a strikeout. Ooh. And now it's 3-2 with the bases loaded and nobody out. And there's danger here, Sherry. Craig Shipley hitting .250 for the spring. The pitch. Hot shot, foul. And so we'll go through it again. Well, Rich, good to see you, buddy. And
thank you, Harry.
Come Martha alone.
I sure will. I appreciate you inviting me up, and I'll see you back in Chicago.
Very good. Nice seeing you.
Same here, Harry. Bye-bye. Bye.
Rich Melman spending a few minutes with us. He has a great softball team that annually wins the world's title. Bases loaded, nobody out. Whoa, a curveball, and he walked it. He's walked 3 this inning. And he's probably thinking about the air, which could have gotten him out of a lot of trouble. but he should be thinking, and I'm sure he will be, of the 3 walks he has given.
Well, that's one thing that Fergie Jenkins talked about before the game here. He said that he was certain that Bullinger would pay attention to the wind and probably start nipping at the corners a little too much, consequently falling behind and eventually walking a few guys. And Fergie predicted it before the game, and at least in this inning, it's come to pass.
Here's Luis Lopez, the shortstop. There's a long, high drive. McRae shading his eyes. Another run will score. And now San Diego leads 2-1. A sacrifice fly. And so it's 2-1 now. And here is Tim Worrell, the pitcher. Tom and Nina Capaccio are here from Roswell, New Mexico. Roswell, New Mexico. He's a former police officer in Chicago.
Well, now they might want to work on the safety squeeze. It differs from the suicide in that the runner isn't going. And if you do that, you certainly would like to bunt it up the right side and push it away from Bullinger. So we'll see what Bruce Bochy has in mind.
He spread around as if the bunt. You saw Flannery, the third base coach. I'm sure you all remember him as an infielder for the San Diego Padres the year they eliminated the Cubs in the playoffs in 1984. Remember, that's when the Cubs won the first 2 and the best 3 out of 5. They won the first 2 at Wrigley, went out to San Diego, lost 3 in a row, and led in each game. There's the ball, bunted in the air, foul. And in one of the games, Steve Garvey drove in every run with 2 out. I think it was either 5 or 7. All with 2 out. They couldn't get him out. Finally hit a homer with a man on that really won the game for him. And the home run came off Lee Smith, who's still getting him out now for the Angels. 2-1. Favor the Padres. Worrell. The bunt again. Bunts it in the air. No double play. I don't know. I think maybe Bullinger was thinking of catching the ball on the bounce and going for the double play, but Jose Hernandez running in from third base chased him out of the thought. 2 out.
Not a real good effort by Tim Worrell, who's not much of a hitter, and the manager doesn't ask you to hit, but he certainly wants that bunt laid down, and it makes this a different at bat because on a ball in the hole you still have the force out at second base instead of having to throw out a very speedy Ricky Henderson at first.
Ricky Henderson got an infield hit his first time up. If Bullinger could get out of this jam with only 2 runs, he might consider himself very fortunate. 3 walks and an error. 2 out now and only 2 runs in. There's Service, Scott Service, doing a great job behind the plate. Curveball in there. Strike 2. Boy, oh boy, how things happen. And why you can never blame the ball players for trying to get as much money as they can. How about Rick Wilkins? When Service was obtained, Wilkins was about a year removed from a tremendous season where he hit over 30 home runs, drove in 100 runs. He was traded. Little did anybody dream of the fact that he might be through. Well, as of now, he is through. You never know. Two balls, 2 strikes.
Henderson hit an even 300 last year at Oakland. Although the steals were down to 32, he still had a very respectable year for the A's.
The Padres have won 11 and lost 13 this spring. The Cubs have won 14 and lost 8. They really look good, especially the last week or so. There goes a runner. Swung, fouled out of play. Shipley broke off first base.
Cubs just 9 days away from opening day at Wrigley Field, and these two teams will be going head-to-head. Both teams with very high hopes.
I saw Jim Murphy of Murphy's Bleachers in town. He's going back to Chicago last night to get his saloon ready for opening day. Bouncing ball, fair ball down the third base line. Another run is in. 3-1 now. The ball was sharply hit, and Henderson doubled to left.
Just the second run batted into the spring for Ricky Henderson, who is just now getting into midseason form, and he takes this one right down the line by Hernandez. And speculation is, at least, that Jose Hernandez will be the opening day third baseman, with Dave Magadan at least 2 to 3 weeks away from getting back in the lineup.
Here's Chris Gwynn. Flying out his first time up, hitting .281 in the spring with 1 home run. 3-1 Padres.
Familiar man trying to make this team, Harry. Rob Deere has hit some balls almost out of Arizona in spring training, and he's had a very good spring in his bid to make this Padre ball club.
Well, the Padres are definitely going to have a crowd-pleasing type of ball club. A lot of hitting up and down the lineup. Whether their pitching can hold them is something else. Gonzalez in left, McRae in center, Sosa in right, Hernandez being wide of the bag at third, Sanchez positioned behind Henderson at second. (3-1) Padres. Little bit inside. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Wayne Larrivee, he must be bored with the Bulls. Must be boring. Every night they win, they win. It doesn't make any difference who plays. As long as Michael's in the lineup, you know they're going to win. There's a bouncing ball. Tough play. Out at first to retire the side. 3 runs scored. With only 1 hit, 2 left. 1 error. We go in the bottom of the second, 3-1 in favor of San Diego.
Well, everybody's doing a good job. You see guys taking pitches, getting back in the count. Of course, Sandberg, we talk and said the more pitches you see down here, the better you'll be during the season. And everybody's doing a good job swinging the bat.
Right now, it looks like the hitting is well ahead of the pitching. Are you concerned at all about the Cub offense going into the 1996 season?
Well, not really. I know that we're going to have a good hitting ball club. We're going to score some runs because we got experienced hitters, and it's paying off now. We're taking some pitches, we're getting in the count, and when we do get that good pitch to hit, we're not missing it. So it makes me feel good, makes the ball club feel good.
Billy Williams talking about the Cubs hitting, which is leading in runs scored, runs batted in, batting average. There's a gal, a great Cub fan. Her name is Tidbit, I think. That's the way it's signed, Tidbit. I don't know what the full name is. She's from St. Louis. She sends up this bud is for you, Harry. Budweiser little sign. Oh, yeah, way out there in right center on the roof.
Just like Wrigley Field, Harry. They're watching from the rooftop.
Yeah, and they're watching the game on TV. I guess they're checking us out. Haven't made a mistake yet, right? service called out on strike.
Don't-
Mark McGuire Jr. His dad's an executive with the Cubs. Tim Worrell. Hi to Mom and Dad and Addison. It's a low.
Cubs third base coach Tony Muser wants to send along best wishes to his brother Tim, who's celebrating a birthday and looking on in San Diego.
You know, I'm still surprised that Tony Muser has not been picked as a major league manager by somebody, especially some of the expansion teams. There's Hernandez's long drive, might be out of there. Whoa, what a play by Chris Gwynn. A fine running one-handed catch. And his more famous brother playing right field congratulates him.
Good effort by Gwynn, who will be a backup to Steve Finley, who is the incumbent in center field. But this is a fine effort right at the 410 sign in straightaway center field. And Jose Hernandez continues to show a very lively bat.
Two men are out. Sanchez, base hit in the center field. Ray Sanchez singles the center. Here's Bullinger. 2 out.
Cubs are hitting everything in sight, as you see right there. Major league high, 333 batting average as a team. California, the Mariners, the Athletics, and the Texas Rangers right behind them. And as you see, the first 4 clubs from right here in Arizona, where the weather has been perfect, the air has been thin, and the infields have been very hard.
Bullinger, pretty good hitter for a pitcher. High fly ball will be caught. Chris Gwynn is back. And he makes the catch. And it's no runs, 1 hit, 1 left. At the end of 2, the Padres lead 3-1. Bar on hand. I wonder if there's any relation to John Cangelosi, the ball player. Tony Gwynn leading it off. He rolled into a double play to end the first. He don't do that much. Base hit. He does, but he does that much. A single to right.
To send along congratulations to Mary Saska and the Saska family on the 45th anniversary of their fine restaurant in Pacific Beach.
Jeff and Mary Ann Johnson are here from Champaign, Illinois. Ken Caminiti having a good spring and an excellent third baseman, defensively and offensively.
Caminiti had a big year last year, hitting .302 with 26 home runs and 94 driven in, and really anchored the Padre infield at third base.
There goes the runner. Here's a peg. He's going to steal it. So Tony Gwynn is on with a stolen base.
When Gwynn came up, he was very fast. In the last few years, he hasn't run quite as much, but you see this as a hit and run. Gwynn looked back to see if Caminiti had swung at the pitch. He did not. Then it becomes a straight steal, and he beats a bad throw to second.
So they have another man in scoring position. Swung, fouled it off. Bill and Pixie Schroeder from Wonder Lake, Illinois on hand. Well, the Athletic trivia question today. Cubs have had 80 home openers at Wrigley Field since 1916. How many have they won? There's the curve outside. Here it is again. We'll give you the answer a little later. All you got to do is read the stats they give us before the game to know the answer to that. So we'll be disqualified. Move inside. Bullinger is struggling. Wayne Larrabee warming up in the bullpen to take over in the fourth. Swung and he missed. Struck him out. Let's pause for identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN-TV, Chicago.
Wally Joyner, who's with the Angels and then with the Kansas City Royals, hitting .439 for the spring with a runner at second, one away. There's a drive in the center field, not deep. McRae is there, and he has it. Two gone. Birthday greetings to Shirley and Cheryl and Diane Abbott from Lansing, Illinois. And birthday greetings to J. Michael Mitchell. That's our next telecast, a week from Monday. Boy, the season is here. Arnie never forgets the hat shots. You can bet on that. There goes a runner. And he steals third base. I don't know what good that's going to do unless Bullinger makes a wild pitch.
You can also score on an error easily, and Jim Bullinger completely forgets about Guinness. He doesn't even look at him. There's a mistake you can make in the spring, but Bullinger has had some problems holding runners close during the season.
Grant Osmus, the speedy catcher of the Padres. A Dartmouth College boy. Two balls and a strike. All three. Well, that stolen base at third was almost realized there. That pitch almost got away from service, which would have enabled Tony Gwynn to score, being on third. Three balls and a strike. Base hit, another run is in. Osman singles to left. 4-1 in favor of the Padres. And Bullinger's had a tough afternoon.
When you fall behind 3-1 and a hitter is looking for a fastball, even if it's in a decent spot, you're going to have some problems. That fastball right down the middle, just below the belt. And Osmus, who hit close to 300 last year, drives in the fourth Padre run.
Greetings to people in Las Cruces, New Mexico. Frankie, Priscilla, and Victor Hernandez watching the ball game here. Craig Shipley, who walked his first time. The Cubs will play one game coming home. They're in Texas a week from today, playing the Rangers in that new Texas ballpark. It's only a couple years old. Two balls, no strikes. Ball three, another stolen base. Well,
Well, this shows you that Bruce Bochy has seen something in Jim Bullinger, and the Padres now running at will. Bullinger with a high leg kick, and if you've got a good base runner, that high leg kick is going to get you in trouble all the time. That puts another man in scoring position.
The high leg kick is probably worth about 2.5 steps.
It is, and it makes it very difficult on the catcher.
Now the count is 3 balls and the strike on Craig Shipley. 3 stolen bases in this inning. That draws the count long. 3 balls, 2 strikes, 4-1 in favor of the Padres. But it's early. A high fly ball, maybe playable. It is. Nice play. Sandy Sosa running one-handed catch. So 1 run, 2 hits, 1 left. We go in the bottom of the 3rd. The Padres lead 4-1.
Cub fans, plenty of good seats are available for every home game this season, including opening day April 1st against the Padres. And fans, remember that every adult attending the first 3 games of the season receives a Cubs magnet schedule. For tickets, stop by the Wrigley Field box office, any Ticketmaster Ticket Center, or charge by phone at 312-831-CUBS.
Here's McRae to lead off the bottom of the 3rd. A lot of fans are here from the Quad Cities on a Butterworth tour that they have a lot of. This is the 11th year they've come down from the Quad Cities to Mesa. Pitch a little bit outside. Ken Duncan, Ron Lincoln, and John McLaughlin from Oklahoma City are here. There's a fly ball, ought to be easy. Chris Gwynn is back, and he has it. And the Cubs still trailing 4-1. And here's your Aflac answer. And if you said 45 victories, 34 losses, and 1 tie, you won. 1 out, nobody on. Here's Sandberg. Wayne Larrivee will be taking over at the end of this inning. He's pacing back and forth in the booth to get ready.
Good hard slider by Worrell, and that's been his best pitch today. He's keeping the Cub hitters off balance, making it very difficult on the right-hand hitters. And that slider close to unhittable if he gets it near the outside corner.
1 out, nobody on. Baseball. 1 week from Monday. Tony Gwynn is there, easy out. Sandberg flies to Gwynn. Here's Mark Grace. He singled and scored the only run of the ball game for the Cubs when Sosa followed with an RBI double.
Padres seemingly have their work cut out for them in their division. Los Angeles looks awfully tough. The Giants are going to be a very good hitting team, although they're going to have some problems with their pitching. And Colorado, a tremendous offensive club, likewise having a lot of pitching questions. So it should shape up to be a pretty good Western division this year.
Well, you're going to have to like the Los Angeles Dodgers.
Absolutely. They've got a fine ball club, and they've got very good starting pitching. The question will be the bullpen, which is the question for a lot of teams.
That evens the count of the ball on the strike. A week from today, the Cubs will be playing their final exhibition game. against the Texas Rangers in Arlington, Texas, which means they'll arrive home Saturday night, probably work out the ballpark Sunday, and play the season's opener Monday afternoon.
Arnie Harris, awfully disappointed we can't broadcast that game, Harry. That game in Arlington, Texas.
Getting back to April the 1st, leadoff man at 1 o'clock, game time at 1:20, and Gary Barnett, the great football coach from Northwestern, will throw out the first pitch.
And it's going to be a 6-game homestand for the Cubs. 2 games with San Diego and 4 games with that club we mentioned, the Los Angeles Dodgers.
There's another hit. Grace is really red hot.
He's not going to want to leave Arizona with his batting average up over 500. And this is what makes Mark Grace a lifetime 300 hitter. The ability to take a low pitch, not try to do too much with it, just kind of serve it into left field. This is a pretty good pitcher's pitch, but Mark Grace will have none of it, and he's 2 for 2.
You know that the Cubs play 15 out of their first 20 games at home. Boy, if they can start this season at home the way they ended last season at home, they'll be in a fine position the rest of the year. A good start, we all know, is much better than a bad one. But in basketball, they proved last night a couple teams had big leads, 13-0 with one of them. But that team lost. Ooh, there's a drive. Way back. It might be out of here. There it is. Holy cow. Wow, that's where he hit that one last night. But that was a line drive. This was a long fly ball.
Fourth home run of the spring, and now Sammy Sosa has driven in 21. And look at the power pack swing of Sammy Sosa. Taking a low pitch and driving it 425 feet away from home plate, and he got it up in the wind, and it just kept on going.
Here now is Luis Gonzalez, 4-3. The Cubs are only 1 run back. Sammy drove in 1 run with a double, 2 with a homer. You know, talking with Jim Riggleman, his feeling is that Sosa will continue to get better. He's really relatively young. He's just becoming a thinking kind of a hitter. Everything else has been natural up till now. Bouncing ball up the middle, a base hit for Gonzalez. And the Cubs are in this ball game. They've actually out-hit the Padres with 6 hits. The San Diego's 4. 4-3 though. San Diego in front.
Well, this is what you like to see, a 2-out rally after 2 very quick and very easy outs. Grace kept it alive with a punch single. Sammy hits the ball out of the ballpark, which you'll see a lot of this year. And then Gonzalez takes one right back up the middle.
2 men are out, 2 men are in. The runner at first. Serve it. High pop fly. That ought to be easy. Shipley back, and he makes the catch to retire the side. But 2 runs, 3 hits, no errors, 1 left. Wayne Larrabee will be coming your way in a moment. Harry Carey from Mesa, where at the end of 3, the Padres lead the Cubs 4-3.
Sammy Sosa, we saw an example of the kind of power he's been displaying down here.
Didn't even seem like he swung that hard, Wayne, and that ball just rocketed out of the ballpark.
Luis Lopez with a long fly ball to left field. Gonzalez turned the wrong way on it. It bounces onto the warning track, and Luis Lopez on with a stand-up double to start this, the fourth inning of play. And as far as Jim Bullinger concerned, a little control problem a couple of innings ago, but struggling somewhat here today.
Well, if Bully gets the ball over the plate, he's going to be a better pitcher when they head north, Wayne, because a sinker baller here in Arizona with the thin air and the hard infield makes it very tough on him. But Bullinger walked 3 men in that second inning, and he was his own worst enemy. And then just completely disregarding the base runners, and that's something you can't afford to do during the season.
Tim Worrell, the pitcher, popped out on a bunt attempt his first trip to the plate. 1 ball, no strikes, the count. So Luis Lopez on at second base with nobody out.
Worrell's job here is to bunt the ball right at Hernandez at third, force him to field it, and move along Lopez.
Worrell squares the bunt. Grace coming in from first. He bunts it on the third base side. Bullinger's play is to Sandberg covering, moving the runner Lopez to third.
We'll take a look at the swing of Sammy Sosa. Then we'll watch where it landed. We told you about the winds gusting up to 35, 40 miles an hour. And if you're as strong as Sammy Sosa, you'll see where the ball landed in our little illuminated circle. And that was a blast.
Ricky Henderson stands in for the Padres.
Arnie Harris with his eyes sharpened up, watching those little dogs racing around and around here in Arizona, able to pick up that long fly ball.
Ricky is 2 for 2 today. 1 ball, no strikes, the count. Henderson reached down an infield topper down the third base line. There you get an indication of the wind here, and it's blowing straight out. Lopez over at third base. Henderson doubled his second trip to the plate, knocking in a run in what became a 3-run second inning for San Diego. That's a strike, and it's 1-1. Ricky Henderson added to the outfield of the San Diego Padres for 2 years. It signed a 2-year contract during the offseason. Dave Magadan getting his work in. He'll start the season on the injured list for the Cubs. And of course, we've seen a lot of Luis Gonzalez at third base the last week or 10 days, but I got a feeling that they're either going to open at third with Hernandez or Gomez when the bell rings.
I think that Jose Hernandez probably has the inside track at this point, because you know about him defensively, and you know that offensively he had a banner year last year. So I think that Jim Riggleman feels very comfortable starting him at third base, but they're eagerly awaiting the reemergence of Dave Magadan so they can put some balance as far as lefty-righty in that lineup. Magadan, a key figure on this team this year.
2 balls and 2 strikes the count here on Ricky Henderson. Chops it on the ground to short. Sanchez to Grace. Meanwhile, Lopez scores, and the Padres assume a 5-3 lead. Second run knocked in by Henderson today.
Relatively early in the game, you want to keep the infield back to stay out of the big inning, and that's exactly what the Cubs do. They throw out Henderson, who runs his RBI total to 3 for the spring.
2 of which have come here today. And it brings up Chris Gwynn. Gwynn with a strike on him. No balls and 1 strike.
A lot of new faces for the Padres, and they've done it quietly. They added Bob Tewksbury and Craig Shipley and Wally Joyner, Ricky Henderson. Those are the notables.
And strike 2 called. I'll tell you what, their infield defense on the corners, Steve, is about as good as it gets when you talk about Ken Caminiti at third and Wally Joyner on at first base. He only committed 3 errors last season in Kansas City. This should be another chance for Sanchez. And the side is retired. Padres pick up a run on 1 hit. And they don't leave anybody. So we go to the bottom of the 4th. It's now 5-3 San Diego. to third and stands up.
This one not particularly well played by Ricky Henderson, as a hanging slider winds up into left center field. Looked like a single. Henderson then has some problems with it as it scoots under the glove. Not one of Ricky's better efforts, and Sanchez winds up at third base. So now Jim Bullinger will have an opportunity to help himself. Bullinger, pretty good hitter, but the Padre infield thinking that he's going to lay one down, but I would doubt that.
Bully flied out to center his first trip to the plate. He's swinging away. Caminiti checks the runner at third and throws to Wally Joyner in time, retiring Bullinger, 2 men down.
You know, Wayne, you were talking about the addition of Wally Joyner and the fact that it's going to help them defensively. Offensively, Wally Joyner very similar to Mark Grace in that they're playing a power position. They both drive in a lot of runs. Neither of them hit a lot of home runs, but both of them very good average hitters. And there you look at Wally Joyner, a career American leaguer who probably will find a home in San Diego. He's a very solid first baseman with a great glove, and he'll be a great addition to this team because they were looking for someone defensively to plug that hole at first base, and Joyner certainly can do that and give them a lot of runs batted in.
Brian McRae is 0 for 2, popped out to second, flied out to center. 2 outs, runner on third, Ray Sanchez. McRae faked the bunt. Caminiti was coming in at third. 1 ball, no strikes. Well, you mentioned Joyner. He did have 34 homers, but a long time ago, back in 1987, his second year in the American League with California, he had 34 homers and 117 RBIs. But lately, he's been anywhere from 9 to 15 or 12 home runs. He had 12 last year. So very similar type hitter to Mark Grace at this stage in his career. Two balls and 1 strike the count. There's Ray Sanchez on at third. Cubs are trailing 5-3. We're in the bottom of the 4th. Here's the pitch, and that's taken for a strike 2 call. 2-2.
Padre manager Bruce Bochy was a coach under Jim Riggleman when he managed at San Diego, and I know that Jim Riggleman very pleased that Bochy not only got the job, but was able to retain the job after the change in ownership in San Diego.
2-2 pitch. Chopped on the ground. Taken by the shortstop Lopez to Joyner in time to retire McRae and the Cubs. No runs, 1 hit, no errors, and a man left. We're going to the 5th. It's San Diego 5 and Chicago 3. Cubs are trailing 5-3. Tony Gwynn 1 for 2. Singled and scored in the 3rd. There we go. Got that Michael Jordan home jersey, number 45. Boy, a rare commodity. Of course, Michael went back to number 23 during the Orlando series last May. Two balls and no strikes the count on Tony Gwynn. Jim Bullinger. It's been somewhat of a struggle, especially with his location here in this ball game. And the count runs to 3 and make it 2-1. Harry was mentioning Greg Bonet. This is the worst umpire to watch if you're a fan. Every call is a delayed call, and there is not much accent to it. There's a drive deep to left center field, and this one is one hopping to the wall. Gwynn around first, and he pulls into second with a stand-up double.
Well, although Tony and Chris Gwynn look almost identical, that's where it ends, because the swing of Tony Gwynn is absolutely unparalleled in Major League Baseball. He hits the ball exactly where it's pitched, gets it up in the wind, takes it over the head of Gonzalez in left field, and his day is done at 2 for 3, and he gets a nice hand from the crowd. What a hitter this man is. 6 batting titles under his belt, and he is one of the great students of hitting.
Number 87, Jeff Berry.
Jeff Berry is the runner at second base now for Tony Gwynn.
Base runner 87, Jeff Berry, a minor league outfielder.
So Ken Caminiti steps to the plate.
When you're sporting number 87 in spring training, Wayne, like Jeff Berry is at second base. Odds of making the ball club are fairly slim.
You don't think we'll see this guy on opening day in uniform for these San Diego Padres at Wrigley, do you?
No, number 87 has a chance of you and I to make the club.
2 balls and no strikes. You know, the thing about Bully here today, often he has been behind in the count, and really he doesn't have the stuff to pitch consistently behind the count.
Very few guys do, but certainly Jim Bullinger at 2-1, 2-0 consistently today is going to get hit hard.
Right side, and this is foul. Hey, later tonight, WGN's Academy Awards month continues with a classic. Paul Newman, Robert Redford are small-time con artists going after a big-time operator in The Sting tonight at 7. And don't miss Sam Rubin for Live from the Academy Awards Monday night at 6 on WGN Channel 9.
It's always one of my favorite nights of the year, Academy Award night. I closet myself away and just watch the awards.
I'm surprised you're not on one of those front line tables there. Oh, good breaking ball there. Caminiti swung through it, and it's 2-2. I'm surprised you don't have a table right there in front, Stoney.
I don't really care who wins, Wayne. It's just the fashions that I really care about. It's quite a show. Alf nominated this year?
I didn't realize you were an aficionado of tuxedos.
Absolutely.
2 balls and 2 strikes on Caminiti. Nobody out. Tony Gwynn out at second. This pitch is hit to right field. Sosa going back on it, and he makes the catch. Meanwhile, the tag at second by Jeff Berry. He moves on to third. So Caminiti moves the runner along with a long fly ball to right field. 1 out, and it brings up Wally Joyner, who's 0 for 1 with a walk and a run scored.
Although that goes as 0 for 1 in the scorebook. Good at bat by Ken Caminiti, who moved the runner along, and that's exactly what you have to do. He failed to do it last time with Tony Gwynn at first base. Gwynn had stolen second, and then Caminiti struck out. This time, he moved the runner along, and now the infield is forced to come in.
Cubs are trailing 5-3, top of the 5th. 1 out, and the pitch. A wave and a miss by Wally Joyner. Padres have made a couple of trades. Their latest, they acquired Sean Bergman and a pair of former first-round draft picks from the Detroit Tigers. In exchange for outfielder Melvin Nieves and catcher Raul Casanova, along with the right-handed pitcher Richie Lewis. 1 ball, 1 strike the count. And the next pitcher getting set to come on. Cubs bullpen.
It's like Dwayne Ward.
Yeah, Dwayne Ward. We're going to see Ward. We also may see here today Terry Adams. Interested to see him throw. 2 balls and a strike now, the count on Wally Joyner.
Well scheduled, Dwayne Ward, Terry Adams, and Doug Jones to follow up Jim Bullinger, who would like to go at least into the 6th inning. If he could get 6 under his belt, that would be fine. But I think he's thrown so many pitches, Wayne, that Jim Riggleman would be happy with 5.
Knocked down by Grace. The play to the plate. They got the runner. Berry hung up. Service runs him back to Hernandez, who makes the tag. Meanwhile, Wally Joyner moves on to second on the fielder's choice.
What a fine play by Mark Grace, and the presence of mind to come home with the throw, and then the Cubs use the rundown very well. Right here, Grace, even though drawn in, able to make the play, a pinpoint throw home, and then the Cubs get it done with just 1 throw, and that's what you're looking for.
Service runs him back to third, and Jose Hernandez applies the tag. The Cubs are working on this very play yesterday afternoon.
They do it just about every day, Wayne. You work on the fundamentals here, and you look at Service and you watch him hold the ball up to make sure that Hernandez can see the throw all the way. You get him running back to third as hard as you can, deliver the ball, and then put the tag on, and that's how you do it.
3-2-5 on the putout. Brad Ausmus has been on base twice, reached on an error and scored in the second, singled in the third.
And watch the arm of Service. He gets the ball up so that Hernandez can see where it's coming from, and then makes 1 throw, and you make the tag.
Meanwhile, 2 balls, no strikes to count on Brad Ausmus. 2 men down, a runner on second base, Wally Joyner. Bullinger On the outside corner with that one, and it's 2-1.
Osmus was acquired from the Colorado Rockies, and when the Padres got him, they figured that he would eventually be their everyday catcher, and it's worked out very well for them.
They got Osmus and Ashby, the pitcher, too, in that deal, didn't they?
It was a very good trade. In fact, Colorado actually at the time chose between Joe Girardi and Brad Osmus, and Girardi was more advanced, but Osmus has turned out to be the more solid player.
3 balls and 1 strike. Wally Joyner off at second base.
In fact, Joe Girardi now playing with the big club in New York, wearing the pinstripes this year.
Playing with the big club. Wearing the original pinstripes, and yes, probably kibitzing a bit with Don Zimmer, the former Cubs manager. That's ball 4. It's the 4th walk issued by Bully here this afternoon.
Now batter.
So runners on first and second with 2 men down for Craig Shipley.
And this brings out Fergie Jenkins from the dugout, who's going to talk to Bullinger about getting the ball over the plate. That was the big concern of Fergie today, with the wind blowing out as hard as it was. He felt that Bullinger has a tendency to try to nip at the corners, especially early in the count, Wayne, would just be a little too fine today, and he was concerned that Bully would walk more guys than he would want to, and really that's the way it turned out. He's fallen behind, as you mentioned, and then the 4 walks, but even more dangerous than the 4 walks is the fact that he's been 2-0, 2-1 all day long.
So Fergie Jenkins back to the dugout. There is a look at the outfield. And the pitch to the plate. Shipley, check swing, grounder, foul on the third base side. Joyner back to the second base bag. These Padres very solid in the field. 9 people they put out on the field every day. It's a nice solid ball club, and again pitching, especially the 3, 4, and 5 starters in that rotation. And how well the bullpen comes along will tell all, but that seems to be the case for almost everybody except the Dodgers and Atlanta, teams like that.
Well, as you mentioned before the game today, Wayne, when we talked about this team, you talked about Mark Newfield and the kind of spring he's had. He's hitting in the 530s this spring. He's missing today because it's a split squad game, but add him to this lineup along with Steve Finley, they're pretty tough.
Shipley looks at ball 1, and it's 1 ball and 2 strikes. Want to see the top hitters in the Cactus League? How about Newfield? Grace up there, Joyner right up there as well. Sammy Sosa came in hitting at 377. 1-2 pitch, and that's a base hit into left field. Luis Gonzalez up with it. Wally Joyner being waved in, and he scores the 6th run of the day for the Padres. San Diego leading 6-3.
Shipley with 2 runs batted in, giving him 4 for the spring. Bullinger getting that fastball up, and Shipley muscling it into left field. And that's going to be it for Bullinger, as Jim Riggleman making the long walk to the mound, the 2nd trip of the inning. So the day is done for Bullinger, and we're going to see a new pitcher.
All right, the Cubs trail 6-3. 2 men out in the 5th for the Padres, and we'll be back with more after these messages. Cubs monthly newspaper, Vine Line, provides a year-round package of Cubs coverage for fans nationwide. Subscription rates start at just $19.95. All 2-year subscribers receive a free photo of their name in lights on Wrigley Field's famous marquee. Call 312-404-CUBS to order.
Wayne Ward comes in. He's making a club-high 10th appearance in the spring after missing all of 1994, most of 95 due to rehabilitation of his right shoulder. He's trying to come back this year. He's had spots where he's thrown the ball very well, and if the Cubs can get a strong arm out of Ward, you know he can get the ball over the plate, and he is a tough guy.
Luis Lopez takes a pitch high and away. 1 ball, no strikes. Lopez a double his last trip. He scored in the 4th. He's 1 for 1 officially at a sacrifice fly RBI in the 2nd. Hits are even at 7 apiece. Shipley on at first. Osmus on at second base for the Padres. Big high kick by Dwayne Ward, and he's up high and away again.
Cubs are down to 33, which is a manageable total. en route to 25, which will be the opening day roster. So 8 men still to go before the Cubs are down to their opening day allotment, and still some decisions to be made, and a few of them in that bullpen where Dwayne Ward is making a bid.
Ward missing 3 balls and no strikes now on Lopez. Opposing batters hitting .233 against Ward. Hasn't given up a home run yet. I stand corrected. He's given up 1 home run. This pitch hit right at Ryan Sandberg to retire the side. Padres pick up a run on a couple of hits. No errors and 2 left. Bottom of the 5th coming up. Padres leading by 3.
Hard, and the basic thing we're trying to get accomplished here is cover all the fundamentals. And if we can get fundamentally sound, improve in areas defense and the basic fundamentals of running the bases and improving those areas, it's going to make us a better ball club. I know we've hit very well down here for a high batting average and all those things, but our main objective is to see the people that we're going to give a chance to make this club, get the regulars in shape, and to be fundamentally sound.
Can Luis Gonzalez occasionally play third base?
Oh, I think he can. He has the ability, but you know, he needs a lot of opportunities to accomplish that, and Jimmy's doing that, and I think he can. It's just a matter of getting out there enough and feeling comfortable.
Ryan Sandberg leads off the bottom of the 5th inning for the Cubs. Sandberg, Grace, and Sosa to face Tim Worrell. 1 ball, no strikes, the count on Sandberg, who is 15 for 24 since starting the Cactus League season. 2 for 20 at the plate, and the pitch misses low and away. 2 balls and no strikes. Rhino called out on strikes in the first, flied out to right field in the 3rd. 0 for 2 today. And do. There's a strike, and it's 2-1.
Field straight away and very deep all the way around. Jeff Berry stays in the game in right field.
The 2-1 pitch. Trying to check his swing. That's strike 2.
It's been the best pitch of the day for Tim Worrell. That good hard slider low and away. He's had pretty good command with it. And if he gets that pitch around the plate, he can be fairly tough. Making a bid for the starting rotation. And the Padres looking for pitchers.
Went for a pitch a bit low. Lifts it foul out of play. If you look at Tim Worrell, we talk about the Tommy John surgery involving elbow ligament repair. Dr. Frank Jobe performs that surgery, and several pitchers now have made successful comebacks from that surgery, Stoney.
Well, certainly Tommy John was the first, I guess, to come back as well as he came back from that type of surgery that used to be career-ending.
And there was no question, if you had that kind of an arm problem, it was over. But today there is hope, and you know, the technology improving all the time.
And judging by the slider that Worrell is throwing today, that arm is feeling pretty good.
It must be. I mean, slider's not an easy pitch to throw, is it?
No, and he's a big, strong man, so if anybody can come back, he'll have a shot.
The 2-2 pitch. Boy, had him fooled. They appeal to the first base umpire, and Wally Bell says nope, didn't go around, so the count fills to 3-2. The payoff to Ryan Sandberg. Lifts a little fly ball into center field, and over there to make the play, Doug DeCenzo. So 1 out, nobody on for Mark Grace.
Well, I think that Tim Worrell finding out what everybody already knows. There's really not one way you can pitch Mark Grace. First time up, he singles through the right side. Second time up, he loops the ball into left field. And this time he'll probably go right back up the middle with it.
Mark, for spring training up to date, is 24 for 46 at the plate. No balls and 1 strike. Worrell has given up 3 runs on 7 hits. He has struck out 3. A wave and a miss by Gracie, and he's down to the count, no balls and 2 strikes.
fairly lofty spring average. Mark Gray's one of those guys that's going to hate to see spring training wiped off the board. But it all will be when the season starts. You don't have to worry about Grace. He'll be over 300 by the time it's over.
Regardless of how he starts. 1 ball, 2 strikes. Last night up in Scottsdale, Jamie Navarro, impressive, went 6 innings, gave up no runs on 4 hits. He struck out 6 and walked 1. Navarro, Castillo looked to be pretty well squared away to start the season at this juncture. Good pitch there, and a swing and a miss by Grace. That's strikeout number 4 for Worrell.
That was a good hard slider in on the hands of Mark Grace, so it's equally effective to the right-handers and the left-handers. One of the better pitches that Worrell has thrown today. I think there's some optimism in the last outing of Kevin Foster, Wayne. He threw the ball very well, going 5 2/3 innings last time out, giving up a couple runs.
Gave up a home run in that game early, Steve, but came on and pitched very well from there. And the 5 2/3 until last night was the longest stint for a Cubs starter. 1 ball, no strikes, the count on Sosa, who was 2 for 2. Doubled in a run in the first, 2-run homer in the third. Good cut there. 1 ball, 1 strike. And that home run by Sosa, he got it high up into the jet stream, and that ball just carried out of here. He crushed a shot last night in Scottsdale as well. Worrell, pretty impressive when you put it all together here this afternoon. Gave up a run in the first and 2 in the third.
Especially when you consider the wind as a big factor here today. This is a pretty impressive job of pitching by Worrell.
Changed speeds there and had Sosa way out in front. Bruce Bochy has to be happy with the way things are going for his starter here.
I would think that he would be ecstatic with this performance. On his staff, Tim Flannery, Grady Little, Davey Lopes, Rod Pichelo, and Merv Retman, the hitting instructor, along with Dan Warthen.
1-2 pitched. Too good a pitch to take. Sam called out on strikes. 5th strikeout of the game for Worrell. Cubs 1-2-3 in the 5th. We're heading to the 6th. Padres have doubled them up 6-3. Along with our producer director Arnie Harris, being assisted by Mr. Joe Corneo in the truck, Wayne Larrabee, Steve Stone, and Harry Carey. 6-7-0 for the Padres, 3-7-1 for the Cubs. You get a look at Ho-Ho-Cam Park. And this is the second field. Y'all never see much of this, but they do a lot of work out there. That's beyond the left field wall in the mornings here in Mesa.
That's where they work on all the fundamentals, and they have the pitchers working on covering first, and they work on how to defend bunts and rundowns, and the field does get a lot of work here. And in the newly expanded Ho-Ho-Cam Park, Dwight Patterson Field, it's going to be a beautiful, beautiful ballpark.
Tim Worrell leads it off, takes a pitch up high for ball 1 from Dwayne Ward. Ward working his first full inning for the Cubs. Came on to finish the 5th in place of Jim Bullinger. The new first baseman for the Cubs, Leo Gomez. We may see a lot of him at third as well at times this season. 2 balls, no strikes. And that's a strike, 2-1. Top of the order, Ricky Henderson waiting on deck. And about 1 or 2 spots left in that bullpen. Still to be decided. Oh boy, Worrell brushed back.
This is not a man that you want to walk. He's a lifetime 048 hitter, and generally all you have to do is get the ball over the plate. So you're opening yourself up to a pretty big inning if you put him aboard via the walk to lead it off.
Count fills to 3-2. Ward has walked 5 coming into today's action in 8 innings. He's hit a batter. Broken bat bloopered to the Cubs dugout, and Worrell will have to get another stick. Our next telecast, it'll be opening day at Wrigley Field. Hopefully things will have thawed out by then. A leadoff man at 1 o'clock Central Time. Join us for opening day festivities at Wrigley Field. April 1st, that's the earliest opener I believe the Cubs have ever had.
Earliest opener in history. But it promises to be just gorgeous around the ballpark.
3 balls, 2 strikes, the pitch. Back to the box. Ward makes the flip to Gomez, and 1 man down.
This copyrighted telecast is presented by the authority of the Chicago National League Ball Club, which has the right of approval of the announcers and is intended solely for the private, non-commercial use of our audience. Any publication, reproduction, retransmission, or the use of the pictures, descriptions, and accounts of this game without the express written consent of the Chicago National League Ball Club is prohibited.
Let's pause here for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN-TV, Chicago.
1 out, nobody on, and the first pitch to Ricky Henderson is in there for strike 1 called.
One thing that Henderson very rarely, if ever, will do is swing at a bad pitch. Now, he's much more upright these days than he was early in his career when he had a radical crouch and had very little strike zone.
Ward misses in close that time. Henderson even in the count 1-1. Henderson singled in the first. He doubled in a run in the second, grounded out, and drove in a run of the fourth. So he has been pesky, to say the least, here today. And again, those numbers reflective of spring training. Ricky Henderson does not crank it up till it counts. 1-1 pitch missing low, and it's 2 balls and a strike. Dwayne Ward had his best season in Montreal, 1993. Check swing high, choppers. Sandberg, and just not in time. Didn't look like Henderson had the afterburners going down to first, but he had enough to get it done, and he reaches on an infield single.
This is the second time that he's bounced one off the plate. With great speed, getting down there. It looked like they might have had him at first base. We'll slow it down for you. Nope. He does beat the play by a half step. Wally Bell on the call, and the 3rd hit of the day for Ricky Henderson.
Doug DeCenzo, the hitter now, as Henderson gets the lead off first. Henderson, 1 stolen base on the spring. Pitch misses outside for ball 1.
Remember a few years back, a little controversy with Rob Dibble, then with the Cincinnati Reds. After a pasting, he hit Doug DeCenzo.
No.
Causing some problems.
Rob Dibble would do that?
He would and did.
Boy, one of those, maybe that's why he was part of that nasty boy group, huh?
It was some relief corps.
That was.
You know, I had a chance the other night to sit and talk for 3 hours with Uncle Lou Piniella over dinner. And what an interesting character he is. And what a ball club he has when you look at the offense.
2 balls and no strikes.
Look up and down that lineup for the Seattle Mariners, and that has to strike fear in the hearts of all American League pitchers.
They do have some question marks on the mound outside of Randy Johnson, of course. How does he feel about his pitching?
Feels like he's got a real good offense.
That says all about the pitching.
Well,
you couldn't get him for 3 hours. You couldn't get him to comment on the pitching.
Well, they're looking for some of the young guys to come through, and he says they might break with as many as 4 young pitchers. They've got Bobby Ayala in the bullpen along with Norm Charlton,
right,
who came back and had a wonderful year for them last year.
No, it was Charlton, Myers, and Dibble in Cincinnati under Lou Piniella back in 1990 that won a world championship. 2 balls and 2 strikes now the count on Doug DeCenzo. Cubs are trailing 6-3. We're in the top of the 6th inning. Harry Carey will be taking it through the final 3 here this afternoon. The wind blowing straight out here at Ho-Ho-Cam Park. Ricky Henderson cooling the jets on at first, and Jim Riggleman looking on from the Cubs first base dugout. Henderson gets the lead. Earlier today, Bullinger did not do a very good job of holding runners. Padres have 3 stolen bases today. And really, Steve, looking at it, it looked like the runners were getting the stolen base on the pitcher rather than the catcher.
The Service really had no chance on 2 of the 3 stolen bases. bouncing throw on the other one, but great jumps off Bullock.
Runner going, chopped on the ground, making the play. Hernandez at third had no chance. Henderson was already standing at second base. Gomez retires. DeCenzo, Hernandez to Gomez, retiring DeCenzo 5-3. Henderson at second with 2 men out. It brings up Jeff Berry. Hernandez and Gomez, they'll both play at third base. Take my word for it. Before this season is over. Jeff Berry up for the first time today. Berry is, we were told, a minor leaguer, not listed in the statistics with the Major League Ball Club. Just getting a few cuts in here today. And that pitch down low, had to skip out of the way of it. 1 ball, no strikes. San Diego outfield of Henderson, Finley, and Gwynn from left to right. And then they'll have some depth off the bench. Mark Newfield, Chris Gwynn. Newfield, not much of a fielder, but fast developing into a fine hitter and having a great spring, as Stoney mentioned. And then Chris Gwynn, a veteran. 1 ball, no strikes, the count, and the pitch. That's outside, and it's 2-0.
There's a couple of ready reserves as far as the Cubs are concerned. Scott Bullitt, Ozzie Timmons. The challenge for Jim Riggleman, how to get these guys the at-bats that they need to stay sharp.
And that's one of the reasons why Luis Gonzalez played some third base over the last 10 days, to see if he could readapt to the position quick enough to maybe play a few innings at third base and get that left-handed stick in the lineup. Give Timmons an extra few at-bats in left field that he normally wouldn't get by platooning. Henderson off of second. 3 balls and no strikes, the count on the hitter Berry, and the pitch is lifted in the air to shallow left center field, and it's a base hit. Henderson scores. And the minor leaguer Berry has an RBI single. The Padres increase the lead to 7-3.
Well, that's exactly what the Padres are looking for from Ricky Henderson. Get on base, make things happen, and score a lot of runs for him. They've got a lot of thunder in that lineup, a lot of men that are going to drive in some big runs for him, and Ricky Henderson is going to be the catalyst. He's the man that will key the offense, and they feel that they have one of the great leadoff men in history right at the top of their order.
Ken Caminiti swings in a shot to Gomez, who steps on the first base bag unassisted. The inning is over, but the Padres come up with a run on a couple of base hits, and they leave a man. So we're going to the bottom of the 6th now. San Diego 7, Chicago 3. $8,967 in the house today. In attendance, a sellout at Hohokam Park. Well, they had a record crowd up in Scottsdale last night for the Cubs and Giants. Cubs played before a record Cactus League crowd last week in Chandler. So the fans coming back to spring training, and Luis Gonzalez leads it off for the Cubs, who trail by the score of 7-3 as we go to the bottom of the 6th. Gonzalez, Service, and Hernandez are due for the Cubs. Terry Adams in the bullpen, and we're going to see him perhaps in the next inning. He throws about 94 miles an hour.
Along with Rodney Myers, who's been the surprise of camp. The Cubs looking for a combination out of that bullpen that's going to get some outs.
1 ball, no strikes, a swing and a miss by Gonzalez.
And stick around a little later in the broadcast, because Ed Lynch is going to come up and share his ideas and observations of spring training with Harry and I when he comes back in the booth in the 7th. He'll talk about just where he feels the 96 Cubs are at this time.
Base hit up the middle. Gonzalez took a pitch on the outside portion of the plate. Went up the middle with it. His second hit of the day. 8th hit of the afternoon for the Cubs, who came in leading the world in hitting spring training baseball. Scott Service 0 for 2, struck out in the 2nd, popped out to second base in the 3rd. I'll tell you what, the Cubs offense, you've got some people who are putting the wood to the ball. There's no question about that here at spring training. There's a curveball that bends in for strike one call to Scott Service. You know, you always wonder, Steve, if they're wasting hits here in spring training. And Ron Santo was talking about it. He said he'd love to come to spring training and hit 400 and go north with some momentum and confidence. You know you're not going to have those kinds of numbers up north, but nonetheless, a team that's hitting well in spring training at least brings some positive element to the cold temperatures of the north. Service waving the bat. Worrell working here into the 6th. Boy, he's looked good today. No balls and 2 strikes. Couple of changes. Mike Sharperson on at third base. And if you move behind Sharperson into left field, and you'll find Anthony Marnell. No balls and 2 strikes. Nobody out. Gonzalez on at first, and the pitch. Strike 3 called. Wow. 6 strikeouts for Tim Worrell here this afternoon.
You know what the Cubs hit the last 2 springs, Wayne?
No. Offhand, I don't.
Neither does anybody else. So when spring training is over, they wipe it all away. But the hope is that this team that they've assembled of veteran hitters will be able to show enough patience to draw the kind of walks that they're doing here in the spring, which is most un-Cub-like.
Hernandez pops it foul out of play for strike 1.
And I find the most encouraging part of this is the fact that they're leading the National League in on-base percentage. And the fact that they're not going to hit a tremendous amount of home runs. They're not going to have Atlanta's power or the power of a few other teams. But if they do draw the walks that at least they've shown this spring that they're capable of drawing, they are going to score a lot of runs.
Now, they've scored a lot of runs down here, averaging over 7 runs a game. Strike 2 called on Jose Hernandez. Now, you're right, Stoney. By about opening day, you don't really think about what these guys did down here. The 0-2 delivery. Of the 6 strikeouts by Worrell here this afternoon, 4 of them have been called third strikes. Does that tell you anything?
Well, it tells me that either Greg Bonet has a little generous strike zone, or Worrell is showing the Cubs something that they haven't seen before, because he's surprising a lot of the hitters.
Luis Gonzalez gets a good lead off first. Breaking ball, popped it up. Foul, it's out of play. Sun-splashed afternoon here in Mesa, Arizona, but heavy winds. There's a part of the sellout crowd. Ashby, Hamilton, Tewksbury. Those are the frontline starters for San Diego. Scott Sanders, Glenn Dishman, and this man, Tim Worrell, among the others for the other 2 spots in Bruce Bochy's rotation.
They've got a great reliever in Trevor Hoffman. Hopefully they'll get something out of Dustin Hermanson, and Bryce Flory threw the ball very well last year. But there's some pretty good arms in the bullpen for the Padres.
Fastball in tight. 2 balls and 2 strikes now on Jose.
Dustin Hermanson, just one of a long line of great pitchers to come out of the Harvard of the Midwest, Kent University.
Formerly Kent State.
Yes.
Why did you guys change it?
I haven't the foggiest. Maybe it was too big to put on the sweatshirt.
Oh, breaking ball and a wave and a miss by Hernandez. Strikeout number 7 for Tim Worrell. 2 outs with Gonzalez on at first. And it brings up Ray Sanchez. Sanchez 2 for 2. A single in the 2nd and a triple to left center field in the 4th.
Ray's really the perfect man to hit 8th ahead of the pitcher for the simple reason that he doesn't strike out very much. And if you need him to keep an inning alive, you can be assured that he's going to put the ball in play. He's not going to be a great hitter, but he'll be a consistent contact man and keep a lot of innings alive so you get that pitcher up.
He's an aggressive hitter. Goes after the first pitch here. A fly ball to center field. DeCenzo came in on it. Now backs up, makes the catch. And the inning is over. No runs. A base hit, no errors, and a man left for the Cubs. We are through 6 complete. 7-3 in favor of the Padres. Harry will take you the rest of the way.
Well, it's been all Padres so far, but we still got a couple innings to go. maybe we get our offense going.
Maybe they'll take Tim Worrell out of the game. He threw a very solid ball game here. 7 strikeouts, no walks. And the Padres, who probably have a lot of pitching questions, might have found a starter in Tim Worrell because he's been brilliant here today.
It's amazing to me how the people can be wearing shorts and the guys are stripped to the waist. It's really chilly, but not in the sunshine. That's why they're dressed that way. It's very pleasant. Here it's cool.
It's beautiful in the sunshine today, and an overflow crowd, capacity crowd here in Mesa, taking this one in. A preview of opening day with the Padres and Cubs going head-to-head here today, and also on opening day, April 1st. And Terry Adams comes in.
Terry Adams will be the new pitcher for the Cubs. Wally Joyner leading it off. 7-3 in favor of the Padres. Strikers call. Adams, hard thrower. Bullinger's starter was not very impressive at all. One of the oddities of this game, here's a base hit again. Joyner singles to right. In 6 of the 7 innings, the leadoff man for the Padres has reached base. The only other inning, the pitcher led off. He was retired, and the second guy up got on. So they've been getting men on base early in the inning, which enables them to have a lead that they do now, 7-3.
And some changes for the Cubs. Brett Barbary at third. Scott Bullitt has gone in and left. Terry Adams on the mound, and Matt Marullo behind the plate.
Terry Adams pitches low. Joyner, who's had a couple of big years with the Angels and Royals, should help the Padres. There's Bullitt. There's the pitch a little bit low.
You know, Harry, Wayne and I were talking about it. Wally Joyner is almost a clone to Mark Grace at first base. Same type of player. Great glove, not a whole lot of power, drives in some runs, and really will solidify the defense as well as drive in some big runs for the Padres.
Didn't he have one big year in home runs?
He had one big home run year in '87 where he hit 34, I believe. But after that, it's been anywhere between 9 and 15.
7-3 Padres. A windy day in Mesa. Base hit like a bullet. Going deep, diving stop. Here's a throw back into the infield. Runners at first and third. Osmus gets his 3rd hit of the day. And Terry Adams has been greeted rather rudely.
Adams hasn't given up an earned run all spring, but that's in jeopardy here.
The Cubs, in only 1 out of the 6 innings, have reached base with their leadoff man. In every inning but one, the Padres have, and in that one that they didn't, the pitcher was the first man up. He was retired, and the second place hitter, Henderson, got on. Ricky and Henderson. There goes a run off first. The ball hit deep in the left field, will be caught. And it is. The run scores easily.
Third run batted in for Craig Shipley. It runs his spring total to 5. And he's had a red letter day here in Mesa.
And it's an 8-3 ball game now. Adams has been hit quickly by the Padres. Singles by Joyner and Osmus, and the sacrifice fly. Louis Lopez, the shortstop up there. He's only 25 years old.
Looks like Scott Livingstone in the on-deck circle. He'll come on to pinch hit, barring a double play ground ball.
Lopez didn't play last year. Bouncing ball. Only played first base. And Sandberg to Gomez. 2 away. Livingstone will bat.
So a very impressive outing for Tim Worrell. 6 innings, he gave up 3 runs on 8 hits, didn't walk anybody, and he fanned 7. And he's in line to get a spring training victory if the Padres hold on.
And not only that, in line to be put in their starting rotation.
I think this is an impressive enough outing, Harry, where he might have earned that rotation.
Here's a base hit by Livingstone. Another run will score. Livingstone hits the first pitch to left, driving in a run. And it's 9-3.
First 2 spring runs given up by Terry Adams, who hangs a slider, and Livingstone, pretty good contact hitter, just dumps it into left field. And so it's all Padres here today. 9 runs on 12 hits. They've played errorless ball. The Cubs 3 runs on 8 hits, and they've committed 1 error.
Number 82,
Anthony Darnell. A runner at first, 2 out, 2 runs in. 9-3 San Diego. Well, the Cubs playing at Scottsdale last night walloped the Giants 9-4. The Padres returning the compliment today. Ground ball up the middle, base hit. Marnell. And Livingstone stops at second. That's 4 hits in the inning.
And here's one of your favorite players, Harry, when he played for the Cubs.
Yeah, Doug DeCenzo.
The outfielder, occasional relief pitcher.
Very good friend of Ryan Sandberg. Very popular with the Cub fans. Doug DeCenzo.
And against all odds, Harry, because of his size, he's made a pretty good career for himself over the years.
It will certainly... There's a long drive, left field. It's going to be a base hit. Rolling to the wall. 1 run is in. The second run is in. And now it's 11-3. A 2-base, 2 RBI hit for DeCenzo.
This one slicing away from Bullitt in left field, then gets by him. So Doug DeCenzo comes in. 1 for 2 with 2 runs batted in as he slices the ball down the left field line. And the Padres really pouring it on here today. This is by far the toughest outing of the spring for young Terry Adams. And despite the fact that the Padres are playing a split squad and they've got 3 of their starters playing in Scottsdale, they've shown a lot of offense today.
Here's John Barry, the outfielder, who replaced Tony Gwynn. He got a base hit his only time up, driving in the run. Larry Caspian getting ready in the bullpen. Terry Adams. I tell you, the question mark Cub pitching has not impressed today.
Well, the big problem is going to be in that bullpen, and can they find the right combination to help out the starters, especially early in the season.
Here's a ground ball. Sanchez will throw him. Oh, he drops the ball. Gomez dropped Sanchez's perfect throw. An error given to Gomez.
Well, here's a routine play taken for granted. It's right in the glove of Leo Gomez. A perfect throw. He just forgot to catch it.
So it's 12-3 now. No. Runners first and third. 11-3. Mike Sharperson, who used to be with the Dodgers.
And he made the All-Star team 1 year with the Dodgers. Primarily a pinch hitter most of his career and a pretty good hitter.
Runners first and third into the dirt. Nice save by Murillo. Murillo battling for a job as a utility catcher for the Cubs.
And the Cubs are looking for guys to swing the bat from the left side off the bench, Harry. Brett Barbary making a bid as utility infielder. Matt Marullo with his flexibility. Also able to swing the bat from the left side and swing it pretty well.
There's a bouncing ball. There's the throw. Wild gets away from Gomez. One run is in. Here's another man advancing to third. And Sharperson. It's an error on the third baseman. The second error of the inning. 5 runs have scored.
This goes as a base hit and an error. They figure he's going to beat the play at first, but when the ball gets away and it goes as an error on Barbary, they charge Barbary with the error. Here comes Fergie Jenkins to calm down Terry Adams, who's seen his defense fall apart here. So this has not been the way that Terry Adams wanted to end the latter part of spring training, but it's part of the learning process.
So Brett Barbary, who hasn't played much because of injuries, was in there in time to make an error, giving them another run. It's the 12-3 ball game in favor of the Padres. And here's Wall. Here's the
it's Rico Dawsey or something along those lines.
Batting for Wally Joyner. Runners second and third. Swings, fouls it off. Rossi. He's not on their green book list. Flannery coaching at third base. Popular guy in San Diego as a player. 1 ball, 1 strike. There's a high fly ball. Will be caught. And it is by McRae to retire the side. And the score at the end of the first half of the 7th, Padres 12 and the Cubs 3. Pete Smith is the new pitcher for the Padres. 12-3 in favor of San Diego. Big crowd on hand, almost 9,000 people. Pete Smith, the veteran, on the hill. I think Pete Smith originally was with Atlanta, wasn't he?
Yes, he was, and he had a lot of arm problems.
Yeah.
Originally one of the great hopes of the Atlanta Braves, but arm problems have really slowed his career.
Swings, and he misses, striking out.
Barbary goes down on strikes, and Brian McRae, who's gone all the way, stepping in with 1 out.
McRae, nothing out of 3, and only 1 inning out of the 7. And the Cubs got their first man up on base. There the players. Louis finished for the day. Takes time to autograph on the right field corner.
Micah Sharperson at third. Rico Rossi stays in at short. Rick Woodrich at second base. And Scott Livingstone stays in at first. So completely different infield for the Padres.
There's a drive by McRae. Way back it might be. It could be. It is a home run. Holy cow. Did he golf that one? And now it's 12-4.
Not much doubt about that as Brian McRae takes it way back. Jeff Berry took one step in right field and then just looked up and it was long gone. Watch the swing again. A rude greeting to Pete Smith, struggling to make this ball club. And he throws a low curveball down in the zone and McRae just wails on it.
That's a second home run of the Cactus League this year for McRae. Here's Sandberg 0 for 3. 1 out, 1 in. Pete Smith. Boy, that Worrell was outstanding. Standing 7 in his 6 innings of work. There's Chuck Wasserson and, of course, Sharon Panazzo of the publicity department for the Chicago Cubs. And these kind of games have really put them to work, not to mention us.
You're not kidding. Ed Lynch is going to join us, Harry, next half inning. Just to talk briefly about spring training.
Here's Sandberg bringing a roar from the crowd with a line single to left. Where's Fudu? I give him a plug. He wasn't. 1 on, 1 out, 1 in. And Sandberg's through for the afternoon. He's being replaced by Haney. Leo Gomez came in time to commit an error at first base. Doesn't take long to hear the boos of the crowd when you make an error in one of these games.
Even in spring training.
Sammy Sosa's still in the ball game. Might be coming up for his final time at bat. Gomez had 5 out of 5 the other day. That's Sammy's automobile. Boy, he hit a tremendous home run last night, Arnie. You wouldn't believe it unless you saw it. Had to go 500 feet if it went an inch. Line drive. No assistance from any wind. 1 out, 1 in, 1 on. And it's 12-4. Favor the Padres. Nice save by the catcher on the play low. Pitch into the dirt. Big crowd on hand, almost 9,000. 33 people shy of 9,000. I'm bad on arithmetic, as you can tell, but that's true. 33 people shy. Swings, fouls the pitch off. Well, this is the last game until the season starts a week from Monday. At Wrigley Field against the same San Diego Padres. Gomez stays alive. Jamie Navarro will pitch for the Cubs. It's been announced. Who's going for the Padres?
Maybe Andy Ashby. I believe it's Andy Ashby and Jamie Navarro.
Pitch low. 2 balls, 2 strikes.
And it promises to be a balmy day in Chicago on April 1st, Terry.
Well, it was 39 there today. That'll give you an idea. But it might be 70 next week from Monday.
It might be. It might be, but I wouldn't wear your light jacket to the ballpark in hopes of that.
See, that's the negative. That's the negativism of baseball. I think it's going to be a bright, sunshiny day. And here's Sammy Sosa, who already has had 3 RBIs, a double, a home run. He now has a total of 4 homers and 21 RBIs for the year in the Cactus League. It's a little bit low. Boy, it's chilly here. Pete Smith on the hill. Ooh, boy, he took a rip, fouled it off on the slow curve. He wasn't fooled.
Scott Bullitt in the on-deck circle. He'll get his first at-bat of the day after a fine performance by Louis Gonzalez.
Gonzalez with 2 out of 3 again today. Went to the game hitting .385. There's a drive foul. Grace hitting over .500 now with 2 out of 3 today. Sosa hitting around .400, as is Gonzalez. Sandberg over .300. Pitch a little bit low. Boy, oh boy, the wind is blowing. There's no sunshine in the booth. That's not bad.
Looks like it's fairly comfortable in the seats.
Oh, yeah, it looks very nice, as a matter of fact. Bouncing ball, base hit. Down to third baseline. 1 run is in. Runners at second and third. And Sammy comes through again. He's had 3 extra base hits. Good for 4 RBIs.
This one rifled down the line. It's a curveball that doesn't do much, and Sosa knows exactly what to do with it, taking it right by Sharperson. And what a day it's been for Sosa, who will leave now in favor of Ozzie Timmons, who's going to run at second base. So the day is done. Very productive day for Sammy Sosa.
Sosa gets a nice hand trotting off the field. Cubs now trailing 12-5. And Sosa is driven in. There's a drive in the right field. Barry fading back, gonna make the catch. Another run to score. And Bullitt hits a sacrifice fly.
Should come as no surprise, Harry, that Kentucky defeated Wake Forest 83-63.
I don't know how anybody can beat that Texas and that Kentucky. They're tough. Murillo batting. Service was 0 for 3 while he's in there. The score 12-6 now. Cubs trailing in the 7th. There's a drive, try to make it 12-7. Hey, Murillo drives in a run with a single to left, scoring Timmons. And now it's only a 5-run lead.
And the Padres put 5 on the board in the 7th. Now the Cubs put 4 on the board. That's going to bring Bruce Bochy out from the dugout. And that's probably going to be it for Pete Smith.
Well, I was kidding after singing the song when they were leading 12-3 about let's get some runs. Well, the Cubs have gotten 4. There are 2 out. They trail now only by 5. They've had 12 hits. While the Padres have 15, but they also have the Cubs 3 errors.
And apparently Oquist is not ready yet. So Smith stays in the game to face Brooks Kieschnick.
And Brooks Kieschnick, a youngster who's impressed with the bat is. He's the 8th man to bat in the inning. Well, along would make it 12-9. Smash after shortstop glove. Runners at first and second. Boy, he really ripped that. They're proud to give him a hit on it. No, an error. Boy, that ball was hit hard.
This ball is a rocket.
And now, with men at first and second, Ray Sanchez, who singled and tripled earlier, the 9th man to bat in the inning.
There's a little lobbying to give Brooks Kieschnick a base hit, Harry. Let's see if Chuck Wasserstrom knuckles under the pressure.
I thought it was a base hit that tore through the shortstop's glove. Now Sanchez takes the low. Pete Smith came in this inning, still in there.
Let's watch it again. This is a rocket. Kieschnick hits it right on the button.
Blue. Tough play is right. Now the pitch.
It's a tough league if they give errors on that one.
2 balls, no strikes. It is not ours to reason why, but merely to do or die.
Well, I think Chuck Wasserstrom will be very happy to relinquish the role of official scorer during the season.
Now the pitch. Line drive foul. Well, an extra base hit would make it very interesting.
I think in an effort to get in some more work for the pitchers, Harry, this one going 12, 13, or 14 innings would look pretty good.
Well, of course it would. They might have to call it, though, for not having enough pitchers available. 12-7 Padres. Strike 2 call at the knee. 2 balls, 2 strikes, 2 out, 2 on, 4 in. Now the pitch. Ball 3, and the runners will be going with the pitch. 2 out. 12-7. Padres leading. Sanchez waiting. There go the runners. The pitch. Ball 4, and the bases are loaded. And Fred Barbary, who made the first out in the inning, comes up again. And need I remind you what a long one would do now? And that's going to be all for Pete Smith. And we'll be back in a moment.
No, I know.
Harry Carey back at Ho-Ho Camp Park in Mesa. And Mike Oquist, O-Q-U-I-S-T, a right-hander, will face Barbary with the bases loaded. 2 out, 4 runs in. And the Padres ahead of the Cubs by 5, 12-7.
Last time out, Oquist gave up 4 runs on 5 hits in 1 inning. Before that, he was having a pretty good spring. So Brett Barbary, who struck out to lead off the inning, getting another chance as both teams batted around in the 7th.
Brett Barbary, switch hitting infielder. The wind blowing out. Fastball outside. Oquist, a big hard-throwing right-hander. He is not on their official roster. Ball 2. Doug Glanville will be next. Bases loaded. 2 balls, no strikes. Will he be swinging with the wind blowing? I would guess he would. There's a strike called. A good pitch of strike, though. Knee high over the outside corner. 2 balls and the strike. Bases loaded. Now it comes even up 2-2. He did not have a very good cut at that one. The Cubs with 12 hits. The Padres with 15. 2 balls, 2 strikes. Struck him out call. Damn the inning. So the Cubs scored 4 runs. And at the end of 7, they trail. San Diego 12, the Cubs 7.
And the way he came into camp ready to play and his production this spring. I think number 2, Jamie Navarro, the fact that he came into camp ready to pitch and the fact that he was dominating last night, 6 shutout innings. And you know, I think on a probably lesser role, a guy like Rodney Myers coming in here and really impressing everyone. So it's been a very good spring in those 3 areas. We feel like the offense obviously is coming along just fine. We're hitting .320 as a team. So there's a lot of good things to talk about.
It always comes back to pitching. Do you have enough pitching?
Well, I think our starting rotation is going to be good enough. I think we stack up with anybody in the division 1 through 5. The question, and we've said this all spring, is the bullpen.
Larry Cassian in there to pitch, and he's been greeted with a base hit.
Overall, how does Dwayne Ward look to you? Because I know that you were trying to catch lightning in a bottle with either Dibble or Ward. And looked to me like if you can get any arm strength out of Ward, you certainly know that he's a very competitive and a quality major league pitcher.
Yeah, he really is. He's got what we call great mound presence. He's a guy that really looks like he's in charge out on the field. His stuff right now is certainly not where it was in '93 when he was the most dominating pitcher in the American League, but he's made progress, and we'll just have to see how it works out.
Runner at first, nobody out. Sammy Sosa down the right field corner, like Luis Gonzalez, signing autographs. Swung and he missed. How about the, would you carry 2 or 3 catchers?
Well, that's a decision I think that we're going to have to make, obviously, in the next few days. But, you know, it probably comes down to 11 pitchers, whether we carry 2 or 3 catchers or 7 or 6 infielders or 5 or 6 outfielders. I think those guys are probably the last decisions to be made. I think we're pretty much set with 95% of the club. It's just those last 3 or 4 players that are the tough ones right now, because we have several guys having good spring.
I would imagine your mind is pretty well made up already on the guys that are going to make up your squad, the 25. Yet this last week of spring training has a chance to change your mind.
Well, one thing I've learned about this game is don't make decisions till you have to, because you always have injuries and you always have unexpected developments in the trade area. So you know, we'll try to keep our options alive as long as we can, but sooner or later we're going to have to make the decision, and unfortunately we'll probably have to let some people go.
When do you figure it's going to be cut down day where you get down to 25, Ed? Will you take it up to the last day or two of spring training?
Well, it depends on what Jimmy Riggleman needs in Texas, whether we should bring an extra player or two for that exhibition game on Saturday the 30th. But I would think by then we should be pretty much well done.
Hey! Oakwood's trying to sacrifice and button into a double play. Murillo's trail was not a great one, but one hopper to Sanchez, who relayed the first base to Gomez. And we're out of the inning. We go into the bottom of the 8th. The Cubs trailing 12-7.
Chicago Cubs baseball on double.
Well, his nickname is Buddha because when he was born, he looked like Buddha. So,
and how does Buddha look? How does Buddha look? Getting back to baseball, we have to have another pitcher come in for San Diego. Quist
might have hurt
trying
himself
to
here.
sacrifice, hurt himself, and they're bringing in a left-hander.
Rob Murphy, veteran left-hander.
Let's pause here for station identification.
This is America's #1 sports station, WGN-TV, Chicago.
Rob Murphy, a veteran left-handed pitcher coming in for the Padres. Boy, he's been around forever.
Yeah, Harry, I remember him coming up with the Reds in the early to mid-'80s out of Miami, Florida. As a matter of fact, we went to the same high school, so I'm rather familiar with this guy's career.
Left-handers just never go away, do they?
I'll tell you, the old saying, if you have a pulse, you got a chance, so I guess that's true.
And that goes for left-hand hitters, too. Hey, and the new ballpark they're going to have here next spring, are they building it according to your adjustments or measurements or desires? Or
well, within reason, you know, we just, on the practical matter, we have our input in terms of where we would like to see certain rooms put, where we would like to see, electrical outlets, laundry room, and all the practical things that go into running a club out of a ballpark, and, office space and how we like the offices designed. So we've had our input, yes, and we think it's going to be a beautiful facility. This has been a very good place for us now for 18 years, but I think we're ready to move on to a new facility.
And actually, it's going to be at the same location as this one, only they're going to be moved out towards the street more.
Yeah, my understanding is, Harry, that it's going to move about 100 yards directly west, and I think home plate in this park would be right field in the new park. So it's going to be a beautiful facility. They're going to redo the Fitch Park facility down the street also, and I think it's a facility that's got a chance to be one of the nicer ones here in Arizona, and there certainly aren't some beautiful ones out here.
I ran into Don Fair before the game. He was here. What's going on? Do you know?
Well, Harry, I've had the privilege of staying out of those negotiations. Andy McPhail has been privy to those, I'm sure. And, my only hope and my only prayers go towards a long-term solution. And, we know that there's very intelligent people on both sides of the issues. If there was an easy solution, we would have been there long ago. But, I think we're all confident that progress is being made. I think it's productive that it's not in the newspapers every day. There's not a lot of discussion from outside parties. So we're just hoping that a long-term agreement gets signed and we have a chance to move forward as an industry.
Another great crowd here today, 33 people, under 9,000.
Well, it's just great the support we've gotten, and it's a beautiful day today, a little windy, but I guess it is pretty much a sellout, and it's just great to see the support that we have had out here for all these years.
All right, Rob Murphy taking his last warm-up pitch.
Well, he gets as much warm-up as he wants, Harry, because Oquist did leave with an injury, and so they want to make sure that Murphy is all warmed up and ready to go before he starts the inning. And with that in mind, he took about 30 or 35 warm-up pitches.
Doug Glanville, the center fielder who replaced Brian McRae. McRae hit a homer in the 7th. Glanville's had some good days down here, had a good year in the Winter League, as I understand.
Yeah, Harry, he wound up hitting about .330 down there for Tom Gamboa. Is one of the bright spots of the entire Winter League. It's really come a long way in the last year, and he's made great progress, not only with his base running, but with the bat.
Right-hand hitter, 1 strike and nothing. Bottom of the 8th, 12-7. Favor the Padres. Base hit. A line drive to right field. So Glanville gets things started. And here is Haney, old infielder.
You know, Harry, in last night's ball game, we were winning 9-1 late in the game, and I don't even remember there was a foul ball down the right field line. And Todd Haney made a leaping, diving catch over the rail into the crowd to end the inning. And it just shows you what kind of player this kid is. He's really played hard all spring.
He certainly has.
After having a great, 80 or 90 at-bats last year, and he's certainly done a good job so far this year.
Haney the batter, Todd Haney. 30 years old, started a swing, held up, strike call. There's the new ballpark. That's the, give you an idea about it. And it's still be called Patterson Field. Pitch low. 2 balls and a strike. Boy, it's chilly up here. Might be beautiful in the stands, but cold up here.
Just a touch colder in Chicago, though, so.
Not opening day, it won't be. 65 to 70 degrees, my guess.
Good guess. Arnie wants to know your second guess.
Well, how can you guys be so pessimistic? Oh, there's a high fly ball. Haney will be retired unless it's lost in the sun, but Barry makes the catch, 1 away. You know, just the other day it was 60 degrees in Chicago. About 48 hours after it had been down to about 19 below wind chill factor. The day started out today at 39 degrees. And we're not playing there today, fortunately. Goaz. And Timmons will be next. Cubs trailing by 5. You know, I can't figure out what surprises me the most. The annual annual Cubs convention in January, are the fans down here in spring training. They're in both cases so unusual to see that kind of enthusiasm in events like that.
It's really great to see, Harry, and one of the great things about working for this organization is the support that you get from the people not only in Chicago and not only in the Phoenix area, but around the country and around the world. And just can't say enough for how much that support means to all of us. And hopefully when we, I don't want to say if, I want to say when we do win the whole thing, we have millions and millions of people to share it with. And that we're certainly going to try to do that.
Of course, you don't get many letters giving you a lot of help on how to run the ball club, do you, Ed?
I get quite a few, Steve, and I try to read every one of them. And it's amazing how many people are in tune with what's going on. And, you know, I've got people writing me letters about options and putting people on waivers and things of that nature, arbitration. So, you know, the fans watch and they write some very good letters. And, you know, I try to read as many of them as I possibly can. And sometimes I get some pretty good input.
You read the bad letters as well as the good?
Well, the bad ones aren't addressed to me, Harry.
All right, pop fly, short on the infield, and that is an easy out. Timmons will be the hitter. Here's the Chrysler Plymouth spring summary. Padres leading 12-7. Grace had 2 singles, scored 2 runs. Sosa raised his average to 404. Gonzalez to 400. Sosa had 2 doubles and a homer. Batted in 4 runs. Timmons takes it high. How about your experiment of Gonzalez at third? How do you feel about it?
Well, you know, Harry, I think it's valuable that he got some time there this spring, even if it doesn't work out after opening day. The fact that he's got some experience there will help.
Timmons rips a single to center, and runners are on at first and third. Glanville pebbled around to third base as Timmons single to center.
Eddie, how do you like the progress of Sandberg as spring has gone along? It looks to me like he's just gotten better and better.
Well, you know, we knock on wood every day. He just, you know, it's typical Ryan Sandberg spring. He came in shape, ready to play, hitting the ball hard, maybe not getting the hits, and all of a sudden, he gets 6 or 8 hits in a 4-day period. You look up, he's hitting 290, and then he's hitting balls out of the park and hitting balls off the wall. So he's getting himself ready for opening day, and he's just a consummate professional, and we just can't say enough how well he's played this spring.
Here's Bullitt facing a left-hander, Rob Murphy. Murillo would be next. He drove in a base hit the only time he batted. High pop fly should be caught, and it will be. Marnell comes under it to retire the side. No runs, 2 hits, 2 left. At the end of 8, it's still 12-7 Padres.
Live from the Academy of
7. Todd Jones on the hill in relief. I tell you, one thing about it, he's been consistent with all the other guys. First man up lands a single to center.
Now to plate, left fielder, number 82, Anthony Marnell.
Marnell now up there, runner on Livingstone with a single to center. And Marnell playing left field, replacing Ricky Henderson. Slow curve, and there's strike call. Boy, this guy...
This looks like a slow curve, Harry. That's his regular curve. Not a bad spring so far for Doug Jones, however. He does have excellent control, veteran short man.
I tell you, he reminds me of Rich Melman's softball team. They play slow pitch. He fools them with a slow curveball. 1 ball, 2 strikes, a runner on at first, nobody out. 12-7 Padres. Struck him out. Boy, he fooled them completely. It's amazing. Every pitch seems to be a different speed.
Yes, each one's slower than the next. But he's got a great changeup. And if you don't wait back, you're not going to hit him.
Is Doug DeCenzo. He doubled in 2 runs in the 7th. 1 out, 1 on. I can't call everything a slow curve. 1 ball, no strikes, 1 out. Ball 2 outside. Well, a week from Monday's opening day at Wrigley Field. Leadoff man at 1 o'clock. Game time at 1:20. Bouncing ball. Gomez gives it to the pitcher Jones for the out. 2 gone. John Barry. Barry's had 1 out of 2 since he came in, replacing Tony Gwynn, who had 2 out of 3 himself. Off-speed pitch. Well, the sun's not shining now. Sky's overcast. The Cubs play in Tucson tomorrow. Play here Monday afternoon. Saturday, they'll be in Texas, in Arlington, to play the Rangers. The last exhibition game. And following that game, they'll fly to Chicago. They'll be there Saturday night, probably work out Sunday afternoon, open the season Monday, April the 1st. Hit by a pitch ball. Barry hit on the elbow. It's hard to indicate you've been hurt by.
I don't think the trainer's going to come out, Harry. I think Barry's just going to go to first base after getting skimmed by that one. He doesn't know he's hit yet.
Mike Sharperson, you know, this guy's always hit so well against the Cubs.
He's a pretty good hitter.
Win a number of games against Chicago. Have you ever timed his fastball?
Doesn't get up there very quickly, but he's been effective throughout his career.
And he struck out a lot of guys. There's something very deceptive about his pitches. I haven't been able to figure it out.
Well, that's how deceptive he is.
1 ball, 1 strike. Swings and he misses. Mike Sharperson. And he's fooling a very good hitter, as I mentioned before. One ball, 2 strikes. Ground ball, Heaney up with it. Over to first to retire the side. We go into the bottom of the 9th. The score, Padres 12, Cubs 7. 31 hits, 4 errors in this ball game. Padres leading 12-7. Enjoy Cubs baseball at Wrigley Field from the finest seats in the house with a mezzanine suite at Wrigley Field. For information on renting a Cubs mezzanine suite, call 312 area code 404 Cubs. 404 Cubs. Here's Merullo. Base hit. And one thing about Merullo, every time he gets a base hit, it increases his chances to make the team because of the left-hand bat he represents. Darson, the catcher, coming up for the Cubs. There's a fastball, a little bit inside. High pop foul out of play. One ball, 1 strike. Nobody out. Runner at first. Cubs trailing by 5, 12-7. Line drive, center field, going to be caught. Darson, who's been hitting the ball well himself, lines out to center. One away. Ray Sanchez with 2 out of 3 today. Now Lonnie Sandberg in the right field corner, signing autographs. Bouncing ball. Sharper's a nice play. No double play, though. From Sharperson. 5-4-3.
Good play by Mike Sharperson. Solid throw to Rick Woodridge. But they can't get the double play, and the inning stays alive.
2 out. Two men are out. Red Barbary turning around to hit right-handed. He fanned twice in 1 inning, the 7th, batting left-handed. 1 ball, 1 strike. Veteran Rob Murphy in relief. Even in defeat, and seemingly this will be a defeat, the Cubs continued to hit the ball a lot. 15 hits, 7 runs. Pitch a little bit low. Curveball low, ball 3. 3-2. 2 out. Many of the fans still here in the pitch. There goes a runner. And this should be a Sharperson. Over to first to retire the side, end the ball game. And the Padres have defeated the Cubs 12-7. We'll be back in a moment. Wait a minute, down. Our next televised game will be the season opener Monday afternoon, April the 1st. That's a week from this Monday, when the Padres come to Wrigley Field. Our telecast on WGN begins with a leadoff man at 1, the game itself at 1:20. Cubs baseball is produced, directed by Arnie Harris. Our associate producer, Joe Corneo. The executive producer is